We'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. Thank you all so much for being here. Of course, we got a quick special call meeting first before we get into our committee of the whole meeting. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Chairman Whitehurst for the invocation and pledge.
Y'all bow your heads. And Lord, we give you thanks for this day and the many blessings you've given us. And we thank you especially for the opportunity to be in a country that has true freedom, that we can go out and be elected by the people to serve the people and help us to be mindful of the fact that we do serve the public of Pickens County and that what we do is in their best interest. We ask for your guidance and wisdom in all the things we do. We ask for prayers for those people overseas in the armed forces and firemen and EMS and all the people that help to serve and protect us. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, welcome and thank you everyone for being here. Our first item on our agenda for our special call meeting today is the recreation funding request. Mr. Wilson.
Yes, sir. We've got Mr. Tom Fuller here, the Assistant Town Administrator for Town Central. He is going to brief council on the request he's made to the recreation board.
Yes, thank you. We presented a request, and I have met with the Recreation Board. We had a unique situation at Bowling Field, which is our main football field, and where we do all of our activities, where we just put in the new scoreboard. Real excited about that. We had what appears to be lightning that has come in and hit the poles on one side, and you've got a huge box and two main wires that run out, feed all of these lights. We came in, we brought in the state estimator. They said, yes, go ahead, fix this part. It's going to cost $9,000 something. Our insurance was going to cover $8,000 of it. They got that part fixed, and then when they threw the power again, everything came on, funny sound, then off went the other side. And when they got to looking, I've got this picture I'll pass around. What you'll see, these lights are 38 years old, and you'll see the bare wire. This is 70 feet in the air, so you can't really tell what was going on, and you can see the broken wires where it shorted itself out in the wind once the power came back on. So that, we ended up getting several quotes, got the low bid from Johnson Electric, and what we needed to submit was $14,487 to our recreation. They're going to replace all the wiring they've done everything underground, which our insurance took care of. Now, the part that insurance, because they said that's due to age, that wasn't weather related or enough God, so we're going to need to replace that wiring. And of course, football starts up next week. So we have talked to the companies. They said they will jump right on it, get us going. Luckily, our first games don't require the lights. It's going to be on Saturday. We're kicking off for the season. So anyhow, I did meet with the committee the other night. They discussed everything.
They are recommending fund to this project.
This comes as a recommendation.
Yes,
Yes.
from the recreation committee.
All right. Any questions, discussion?
you guys, I've been talking with Tom about this. This is one of the reasons we have emergency. That's why you hold back a little bit of money, because things happen. And that's kind of what we've done for you, is just to hold back for such emergency when, man, you got to have it.
And I'm going to tell you, I've been at Central for 26 years, was there when the first recreation board was put together, and I tell you, that money is a godsend for Tony Border, Liberty, Sherry Pickens will tell you the same thing. There are some times that, you know, the cities do support us. They cover our salaries, they put a lot of money into it, but when it comes to things like that, it's just not in the budget. And this money is really a godsend on things like that, because once we found out insurance wasn't covering that other part, we went into a panic, because that's a big chunk of change to try to figure out where you're going to find that money. So it's a blessing to have that to turn to in emergency cases. So.
Well, to give you guys, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we accept the recreation funding request as presented for the $14,487. Second by Councilman Hendricks. I'm kidding. It's a long day. Any other discussion? Stop.
You just been around me too long.
They've been around you too long. Yeah, that's right. All right. No other discussion. Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. and motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking the time to come present that, and good luck getting it done. That looks rough. The only other item that we have on our agenda is executive session, specifically to go over economic development and Project Tomato, Section 30-4-70A. So I'd like to entertain a motion that we enter into executive session.
Make the motion.
Motion by Councilman Hudson, any second by Councilman Feimster. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand, and we'll go into executive session, hopefully very, very brief, and come right back. All right, I'll call us back into our session from our special called meeting. We have no action to take out of executive session, so need a motion and a second to adjourn our special call meeting.
Special call meeting.
Councilman Bowers, a motion on adjourning. Second by Councilman Feimster and Whitehurst. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And motion carries, and we are adjourned from our special call meeting. Again, thank you guys for being here. We'll go into our committee of the whole meeting. Our first item up is review of fire board and districts countywide, log number 55. Mr. Wilson.
Yes, sir. We got Chairman Williman with the Emergency Services Board here tonight. He's got Mr. Brockman from Forest County. I'm going to turn it over to Chairman Williman and let him kind of step right in.
Thank you all for having us here tonight. So in front of you, I passed out is a recommendation from the Emergency Services Board. We'll hit some of the highlights, and then I'd like for Mr. Brockington to actually speak to you all, and you all can ask some questions of him. He comes from Florence County, and then maybe follow it up with some questions that you may have for our board. We did, after our last meeting a few months ago, we took a wider approach and then actually narrowed it back in a little bit, and we looked at more emergency services as a whole. So what you're going to find integrated through that is more than just fire. It's actually dealing with trying to increase coverages of EMS, but also rescue within the county. It primarily focuses around the fire structure and the fire districts within the county currently, and ways to maybe move forward and take steps to put the county in a better position. Some notable points that I want you to think about that's come up from last meeting is all districts stay intact so that everybody keeps the same current ISO rating. There would be one unified funding structure. There would also be one unified management structure. We continue to look at making sure that everyone's services improve some way, some form, some fashion within the county. We also tried to look at a fair and equitable approach to everyone that has a vested interest within the county. This plan would allow us for the first steps to start a process moving forward to put Pickens County in a better position overall to receive federal grant dollars, to also to help us to improve our ISO ratings in parts of the county throughout the years to come. So I think the argument can be made that no fire district would see a lesser service than what they currently have now. Every fire district would receive some type of benefit, and even some of the districts that have reached out to us, we have had meetings with, and overwhelmingly have had support from them. So I would urge you all to reach out to your constituents within your communities, and I think you'll find out that that's going to be echoed back once we've had a chance to actually sit down and talk to them and meet with them. So, Sam Brockington comes to us, and I really appreciate Sam coming in today. He's volunteering his time. Sam is the Florence County Fire Coordinator, and a little bio on Sam. Been married for 40 years and has 5 children and 5 grandchildren. So he's got me beat on
In
that.
4 years, he did all
So he's
that.
got me beat on that.
Pretty 40 years.
40 years. 40 years. He's a graduate of the Citadel, a member of the South Lynches Fire Department for 49 years, 28 as chief, and he's the Florence County Fire Rescue Coordinator. We actually talked as a committee about Florence County as maybe a pseudo model, but someone that's done this, that's had to come where we're at now and where we want to go where they are now. Obviously, every county within the state can't do the same thing, so we're not asking to do exactly what Florence County does, but I think this helps pave the way of maybe what they did to get to where they are now. So Sam?
Thank you a lot, Al.
Yes, sir.
Glad to be here. I'm going to slip around over here and do a little PowerPoint with you. Chairman, appreciate you allowing me to come here.
Thank you for taking the
I
time.
bring greetings from Florence County. I understand some of y'all saw some of our people down there.
We did.
Dead. I hope you have no stories or you leave them out.
Okay.
We'll just leave them there. We sent a fine group down there. Florence County's taking a little different approach, and whoever that knows how to make sure I start this right, where's my guru, whatever. You have to start me here. Florence County has had the Unified Fire District just several years. Back in 2013, council was faced with, back it up. Or that's fine. That's good. That's fine. Faced with dilemmas similar to most counties in South Carolina that had special purpose districts like Greenville that had no fire protection, that towns ran out into the country, and varied tax millages. Florence County had millages that ran from a simple 8 in the affluent West Florence area to Johnsonville at 40 mills, and you know where Johnsonville is. Some of the fire departments had more stuff than they knew what to do with in big bank accounts. And some of the fire departments didn't meet state and federal standards. First of all, in Florence County, the county, and let me make sure I do these right here, decided the best way to approach it, and like a lot of governments, was to hire an outfit to do a study. And Florence County spent $90,000 to get this group, which is a good group, and it's actually owned by the International Fire Chiefs. So I think we kind of took to them. And it's not perfect, but it's good, and I have a copy to give Billy and a disc to give him, and just maybe it can help you in whatever. Florence County's initial goals were to first obtain physical control. The fire districts did not submit annual budgets and did not produce audits and did not follow any real financial procedures. Therefore, we had one fire chief still, $250,000. Okay? Not good. We want adequate funding for all fire departments. We had 2 that had never had OSHA-required physicals. Okay, that falls back on you when they get hurt or have a heart attack or die, not on that individual fire department. We want the same taxpayers to pay the same thing countywide. You can't discriminate by which side of the railroad track you live on. And if you get new development industry in one area, and this other area doesn't get it, how do you pay for all of it together? We wanted to improve the service. We were just getting by. We weren't leading the pack. Some were leading the pack, but not all. Wanted to lower ISO ratings, and you'll see that that is the key to the funding, to the operation, that you keep the taxpayers happy and have all property within 5 road travel miles of a fire station. And we want to comply with all federal law, because the buck stops here with y'all, not with the fire chiefs. We had a fire engine in Windy Hill, Al, get wrecked 2.5 years ago. And y'all took the truck, sent it to Roanoke, and it's fixed, and everything's lovely. The lawsuit is still pending, and she was written a ticket for going in an emergency lane and hitting the truck broadside. Okay? So that kind of stuff happens. When I showed up 5 years ago, this is a 1977 FMC tanker, hydraulic brake, straight transmission, that I couldn't bear the thought of telling somebody why somebody got killed in that. was absolutely unsafe. We had a fleet of trucks that was just not up to standards. Florence County, once they had the study and they hired me, developed a plan not like a lot of counties. We wanted to preserve the volunteer fire service as we know it today. That is a difficult challenge in Pickens County, in Florence County, and in this nation. We're dealing with a different group of people, youngsters, since I'm older than them now. Florence County elected to abolish the 7 fire districts and create one taxing district based on funding needs collectively, and wrote an excellent ordinance. The second part of it was to form 2 advisory committees, and that's a pretty tough thing for me to have to swallow, Billy, is to have 2 groups of people to listen to. Operation of the 7 fire chiefs, but more important are the 7 financial people from the 7 fire departments. People have often asked me, how do you run a successful volunteer fire department? And my answer is always the same. Do not mess the money up. Do not ever blow the money. You can let the house burn down. You can do a lot of stuff, but if you steal money or misappropriate, your time's limited. Okay? We decided to contract with the existing departments in a performance-based contract. Billy has all of this. He'll have every single thing. It says what you got to have, what kind of training you've got to have. You must submit an annual budget, quarterly financials, and an annual CPA audit. And where's my finance guy? And Kevin Yoakum wrote every bit of that and administers it, and they don't get their quarterly check unless, period. Okay? And Kevin said, and I agree with this, I'll tell you, the only way we could do any better is to take their checkbooks. Okay? I don't want to do that today. We turned around and the county's bought a lot of stuff and the departments owned a lot of stuff. Does that make sense? Buildings, trucks, whatever. And we took the approach that what you own, you keep. But if you go away, it comes to the county. That's pretty standard nonprofit corporations, okay? So you're gonna come take my truck and move it over here? Ain't gonna happen. But everything that we've bought, we've built 8 fire stations and bought over 30 fire trucks, we own. But we release it to you. Here's a point for y'all to consider. We make the fire departments insure the fire equipment, buildings, and trucks because the insurance companies for fire will insure at an agreed upon value. And as Al will tell you, that's pretty darn good. If he sells me a new fire truck worth $500,000 today, we drive it off the lot, keep it 2 years, and total it out of state reserve fund, we may get $300,000. We don't have a reserve big enough to cover that loss. It's an agreed upon value. There are several companies out there, VFIS and whoever, I don't know who insures, will pay not only for your fire trucks, but your loose equipment. That's a part of that contract. Today, Florence County's operating budget for the 7 departments, $5,559,000. That's funded through a 19.5 tax millage. That's pretty fair in the realm of tax millages. We range from 8 to 40 before. We did something that I don't know who else has done it, but we did something really sharp. 60% of the time we go out the door, we go in medical. Auto crashes, first responder, et cetera, so forth. And all the burden's on the taxpayer. right? That's who you work for. Well, we wanted to gather or recoup some of the funds that we spend on that, especially for what we call frequent flyers and people that don't own property. Everybody's got a car, okay? So we charge $23 per vehicle on all vehicles, only in the fire district, and the taxes, of course, only in the fire district. And that generates $1 million out of our total budget. For all of y'all, and especially for you, it's not affected by Act 388. Okay? No complaints. None. Okay? Florence County also did a really remarkable thing. Did a capital project sales tax. It's actually capital project sales tax too. And politically, a local senator wanted all of the money like he got the first go-round. 100% roads, 4-lane highways all over Florence County. Capital Project 2, which produces $150 million in 7 years, he said, I want all that money too. And council said, we'll give you half of it. Well, we're going to do all these other projects that we have no other way to fund. He says, all or none. Our council stood toe-to-toe, unanimous. Supreme Court, he sued us, we won him 5-0. Okay? You can find out all about that. So we funded projects in every area of the county, from dirt roads to gravel, from gravel to paved, to water lines, to fire hydrants, to recreation, to buildings, to everything, and $19 million for the fire service. 8 fire stations and 30 fire trucks. Florence County is a receiver county in sales tax, which means others bring us money. For every dollar collected, a third comes from our county. So if we spend $100, the county residents only pay 66. That's a very fine way to pay for capital stuff. It went over great. When the county knew that they had a referendum coming up to vote that in, that's what state law required, I explained to the chairman of the county council that firemen are one of the strongest political bodies anywhere if they get together. And I said, if you offer them substantial capital items, you asked the fire chief what he'll do, and he said, I'll track my aunts, my uncles, my cousins. I'll guarantee you we'll vote it, because the senator was totally against us. We won 65%. Okay? That's politics, fire service. That's why I'm here. Our next capital project sales tax will come up November of 2020. It will be great. It will be a great thing in Florence County. Okay? Every fire department in the Unified Fire District has lowered its ISO rating. And all properties are within 5 road travel miles of a fire station. It's pretty substantial. Okay? Today we cover 625 square miles with a population of just under 80,000. That takes the population of Florence out in Lake City and some of the small towns. 7 departments, 33 stations, 71 paid, 254 volunteer, 325 firefighters. We got 35 engines, 33 tankers, 9 ladders, 11 rescues, 14 brushes, and 37 more vehicles, 139 vehicles. And that's a lot, okay? But I can tell you we had more when I started. Mainly support stuff and mainly worn out sheriff's office cars everybody's driving for chief's cars. Nobody's driving those anymore, okay? But we took some control over some vehicles that shouldn't have been on the road, okay? It's a big deal. South Lynch's Fire is still not in the program. And The 6.5 million has 1 million that's in bonded indebtedness. In addition to the penny, we still didn't have enough money. Our vision was not strong enough when we put it together to do the capital project sales tax to get all the trucks. And then everybody says, oh, by the way, all of our breathing apparatus, we got 5 brands and none of them are going to last more than 3 years. So we put all new breathing apparatus at all the fire departments. Major ISO, the most dangerous thing to do is send somebody to a house or a building full of smoke. You got to have it. The first most dangerous thing is how you get there. We kill more firefighters and volunteer fire service in traffic accidents than we do in building fires, okay? And second, you better have OSHA mandated stuff. I won't go through the total deal, but my Charleston history with the Citadel, I was very close on the Charleston 9 when those 9 firefighters were killed and what happened to them and the fine put on them by OSHA and the changes made in that department. Okay? You don't want to live through that. Here's a sample of the ISO ratings for the departments. Each has their own rating, just like you went. There's Lindy Hills a 3, House Springs a 4. But the most important thing it says, type of water supply, mobile water supply. That says, hydrant distance requirement does not apply due to alternate credible water source. So whether you have a fire hydrant or not, you get the same 3 or a 4. Versus in the old days, it would be a 3.9, or now it's a 3 wide, or whatever. So if you pay me the money, you get the break. Does that make sense? That's perfect sense. You all got the same coverage. The difference in a 3 and a 4 ain't worth talking about. But we have 1 5, 2 3s, and the rest 4s. Okay? That's what you're talking about when you want to build a county fire program, that you can talk to the people and say, I've got the most important commodity, and that's volunteer firemen, people that are willing to do this. And I want to see that it's managed money-wise, number 1, 2, safely by the law, and 3, you get your benefit. Billy will have a copy of this, but it shows by class rating how much money you save. From a 9 that you get 7% off to a 1, you get 47% off. Generally, most homeowners insurance group 4 to 1 as the same. I got my local agent to give me a theoretical on a subdivision right out of Florence on a $100,000 piece of property. Okay, this is easy to follow. The value of the home's $100,000. Owner occupied, 4% assessment. $4,000 times 19.5 mil. He pays $78 in fire tax. He's got 2 vehicles, $23 a piece. He's giving me $46 more. He's paying me $124. Cost of insurance for $100,000. A class 10 means no fire protection. Is $1,094. Average of a 4 is $695. He puts in his pocket initially $399. But he gave me $124. So he keeps $275 in his pocket if I never come see him. But you know who will be there first if he's having a problem, his worst day. We'll be there first. And with a lot of people and a lot of stuff. That's just how simple it is. Okay? We did everything right. We've had groundbreakings. Who said they saw real nice county councilman with us the other day. He said that. So Chief Wayman, he's as fine a fellow as there is. Our council is excellent. They care. I shouldn't probably get into too much politics, but nine.
Good idea.
Huh?
Probably a good idea.
Let's make this a simple statement. These are council members sitting there, 9-member council. June just passed, 5 up for reelection, none opposed. Okay? That tells me something's going right in the county. There's one of the new engines, House Springs. They got 3 of those. State of the art, get the job done, auto extrication. New fire station in Johnsonville, a town of 2,500 people. We had 2 towns that had their own fire departments or paying budgets, Johnsonville and Panther. Actually 3 of them, Timmonsville's the 3rd one. I went to them and said, listen, you need to come into the fire district and let me run it. And we'll put the tax on the people in town. And your little budget you paying, $30,000 a year, you keep and do what you want with those raggedy, worn-out fire trucks and hand-me-down bunker gear. Get rid of that. And as they say, we got rid of the biggest headache we ever had. The fire chiefs coming to ask for things that we couldn't provide. So those towns came in the fire district. So we actually have the towns of Olana, Quimby, Pamplico, and Johnsonville in. Timmonsville opted out. That's another story. Here's a fire station we just built. They have a class 3 without hydrants. You look at the smiles on that bunch of fellas' faces, especially that little fellow down there. That's what we just put them in. That's a 10,000 square foot that costs $1.1 million, paid for about a penny. House Spring Station on Highway 52, just south of town, 18,000 square feet, $3.5 million. We bought Windy Hill, 3 of these. Al, I know you like looking at this.
I don't know this in the past.
West Florence, 1 of these. What do you notice? There are 3 different colors of fire trucks. They say, Sam, are you crazy? You had the opportunity to make all the trucks the same. I said, run the fire chiefs off. They like fire stations, but they love fire trucks. So they had their own apparatus committee. They picked their own colors. We used HGAC buy, cooperative purchasing, and they bought the trucks they wanted. You think they had? You think I got any that complain about their fire trucks? We got different brands here, very nice brands. Tankers. That's one of the cutest little, I hate to say cute, best looking rural fire stations anywhere I've ever seen. And it's because of the roof and the doors. That costs $400,000. So we don't have all multi-million-dollar stations. I'm going to show you another one in a minute. That one's got a gray roof on it. How many of you seen with gray roofs on it? It's going to be different. That apartment's gone pretty much from last to first, sort of Timmonsville. They are jam up dynamite. And who do they have first due in their district? A little outfit called Honda. The largest employer, industrial employer. And they protect a little highway called I-95. Which, do y'all have interstates?
We do not have any interstate.
Thank the Lord. That is a whole different world. I never had to run that until I took this job. That's a death trap out there. They could care less about me, you, or anybody else. They're running 80 plus miles an hour, been on the road forever, sleep, drunk, pilled up, and when they crash, it's horrendous. Oh, by the way, I got a beautiful granddaughter. I got 5 of them, but only 1 of those. And y'all aren't old enough, but when you get grandchildren, it's everything anybody ever told you. It's as good as anybody's ever told you.
That's nice to play up to them, Sam.
I'm just telling you. Great, now, nothing like it. Olana, do you remember where Olana is? Population 600. They don't have a two-story, anything over a two-story building. They wanted a fire truck. There was a standard pumper, but a way to handle the two-story churches and schools and things. But they didn't really need $1 million ladder truck. But they wanted to also be able to put a lot of water on a fire fast with a limited number of people. 61-foot telesquare there. It has been in operation. It is a beautiful piece of equipment. This is another fire station in the most rural area of the county called Hannah Salem Friendfield, just around Pamplico. When we were picking fire stations out, the chief there had one of the smartest things I've ever heard a fire chief say. He said, I don't want a Taj Mahal. My people live in mobile homes and old tenant houses. He said, I've already got 4 fire stations that aren't much better than this, and I don't want to build something that they'll say you wasted my tax dollar. No. That was as smart a fire chief as, he was the one standing in front of the fire truck a few minutes ago, the 70 model fire truck. He got 60 2,000 gallon per minute pumpers with 1,500 gallons of water and 4 tankers that have 1,000 pump and 2,000 water on it. That's how you get your ISO rates down. House Springs, it's a remarkable thing here. The pumper on the left, 1 and 3. The ladder truck on the right came from Myrtle Beach. It's an 02. When we bought it, let's say 150,000, put another 50,000 in it. It's fully certified, it's ready to go, it's fought a number of fires, and it's practical. Everybody doesn't need a brand new everything too. That's kind of what I want to convey to you. Oh, I want one of those too. Okay? The biggest part of what we're doing is keeping pride and ownership. Pride and ownership. Those volunteers have buy-in with what they do. That's called a traditional wet down, where they wet in the fire trucks and then they physically push them in the station for the first night. Don't take any of that away from them. Okay? I guarantee you I could order all of those fire trucks and not even have a permit. Okay? And I could have told them to pick them up when y'all delivered. And how many of you think would have been happy with them? 2 out of 10, maybe? That's one of the 6 that Hannah Salem got. The town of Pamplico has that sitting in the town now. They had a 78 model. How many in here would know what a Han is? A Han. That's what they had. It was pitiful. You're not the only county that has this problem today. Trust me, okay? If you want to get into a real hornet's nest, go down to Berkeley County where they have 27 different departments that they are just unbelievable. I just don't even want to get into it, but they have an unusual situation with Honda, not with Honda, with Volvo and Boeing, and they can't find enough people to work. They moving into Berkeley County so fast and building subdivisions, and the fire departments are fighting. The fire department that has Volvo, I'm going to tell this, and it's the truth, said to the county council, they said, we took out $1 million for you in state infrastructure money when we got water sewer roads to build a new fire station on site. They said, we didn't want them. We don't want them today. You take your money and run. So they had to go next door and take that department and ban that fire department from even going to Volvo. And they put on career people and covered that big plan. So I'm telling you, it's a tough game. I wouldn't take that game. They too did a big study, and I gave Billy the link to it, and you can read it. The way I look at it, look at all of them. County Fire Study finds current system inefficient, inadequate, inequitable, and inadequate. Does that sound familiar? What I want to tell you about last is we're in the game all for the same thing, to save lives and property in that order. Anybody can handle the little stuff. Nobody can handle the big by themselves, okay? So collectively, we got a team. And we're not there yet. At the end of this year, we'll put in the true automatic aid, or to have our standard operating procedures adopted. Chiefs are kicking and screaming, but they come. The finance guys are easy to deal with. Nanyao Plastics, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that. It's a Taiwanese-owned plant in Florence County, the largest taxpayer in the county. And that is when they give half the money to Williamsburg County. They are major. They've invested $1 billion in Florence County. And this plant is tremendous. And we've had a number of problems with them. They've been there over 25 years. That's it all spread out. And in the center road to the right, one building. They employ 1,200 people. It's a big deal. That's what it looked like. The slide to the left back in April. Biggest fire we've had down there. We've had a lot of incidents. They manufacture polyester fiber, polyester filament, and PET. And this was in the fiber building drying process. Welder. First thing on the ground was a garden hose. Second thing were about 15 fire extinguishers. And the third thing is this. Okay? That one was getting it. Can you handle that in this county? Good.
Not one department.
Okay. No. Can you see the glow? That's metal burning there. You see the tower ladder? That's a penny sales tax tower ladder. That's showing the building. That engine first due in is a 2,000 GPM pumper carrying 1250 water. It'll fight any fire in the country, but it'll fight fire in town too. All fire chiefs appreciate this. Nanyao's fire system, when the fire pumps kick on, the hydrant pressure goes to 180. And you see all the water under that truck, that's the relief valve kicking. But he was flowing some water. There are two things that put a fire out: manpower and water. You don't have either one, you're going to lose. No need to show up for the game. And the other thing I always teach is big fire, big water. Now, we can get by with this little truck, or we can get by with, no. Let's think about how the bad day's going to be. That's the staging area for Nanyao Plastic. 9 departments. You see there we had just over 20 pieces come, 9 ladder trucks, and 85 firefighters. It took an hour and a half to bring it under control. 3 hours later, we were gone. I'm going to mention one thing. See that cable tray over the engine there? If that cable tray had burnt up right there with all that fire, it would have shut the entire operation down. Sole feeder for the plant. That is one happy group of people. They said, we never thought y'all would stop it. We never thought that you'd keep it to this building. 30 sprinkler heads went off in the building. Yeah, that's pretty major. And it shows you why county council's #1 job is public safety. You exist to fund fire, EMS, and sheriff's office. And that's what the people really think you're here for. And I want you to do a great job at it. And I want you to preserve what you have. Because I'm a volunteer fire chief. I got the best job of my life. I'm 65, I got a red car, and I get to wear a uniform every day. Billy knows what I did for 38. I was a funeral director. Ran a family-owned business with my dad. So you got a bunch of good people in this county. You have excellent counsel from what I see and understand. It's not easy. I love to answer questions, love to be available. I've brought stuff to leave with you. I'll answer anything for you.
What kind of timeline did y'all have from the first thought conception to plan of action?
2013 is when the study was done. I was hired in April of 14, is that right? No, 13. I've been there 5 years. Anniversary date was April. Help me with the math, Billy.
It'll be 2013.
Okay. It took 1 year to pass the ordinance, and we've been rolling ever since.
What are some of the things y'all do to get public buy-in?
Public buy-in, first and foremost, is for the chiefs to accept it. Okay?
But the taxpayers,
Taxpayers, they trust their fire chiefs and prove to them that the money invested will go back in their pockets. One little lady was paid $800 and some dollars in a class 10. Her insurance went to $400. You can't buy publicity any better than that. Yes, sir.
You said you made the 7 districts. Those are all rural districts.
They were all existing prior to.
Did you keep the district structure? Or you dissolve the district
Dissolve all
lines?
of that.
So you dissolve the district lines.
Yes, sir.
How did you keep the uniqueness of each district? How do you pull that together when you got rid of their lines?
Gotcha. The ordinance leaves their boundaries the same. Howe Springs, Windy Hill, West
So
Point.
for tax purposes, the lines were gone, but for practical
Practical purposes.
you still kept
We kept them.
the same districts.
And we revived, if they weren't still functioning, their 501(c)(3) or 4C, I can't remember. They have their own board of directors.
So they still have their own
Identity.
they have their own board of directors.
Yes, sir.
But that board of directors, you basically you collect all the money,
Yes.
subcontract to that group
Yes, sir.
to provide the fire service, and that group has to submit to you the budgets, the accounting, all that kind of stuff.
And
Basically, you become
meet the training standards and response
right, you set the
time.
standards and the rules, but you become the money collector, okay? And then you allocate it back according to the needs of the districts, and then they have to meet the
And I let
standards.
those 7 guys fight over that budget for 6 months, and I have Kevin there at all times. And there are varying ways to decide who gets how much money. Just a couple of points. Population. How much do you cover? That's important. Population density. Are you rural, 100 people per square mile? Are you suburban at 500? Or are you urban at 1,000 or better? I've got 2 departments that qualify as what's known as NFPA 1710 departments. And the rest are 1720. Meet that standard. The number 2 thing is, how many calls you answer? And they say, well, I run 295 fires. West Florence runs 1,200. Okay? Well, I say, well, let's see what it's going to take to minimally cover you.
And you are the one that oversees the whole.
And my job today, 5 years ago, if you said, Sam, what do you see as your biggest need problem? An antiquated fleet that could kill people and not following state and federal laws and they don't have bunker gear, and they don't have air packs. Today, 5 years later, you say, Sam, what's your biggest concern? It's simple, boots on the ground. Simple. How do I get both volunteer and career people meshed in together? I can tell you, if you send paid people into a place to run a volunteer fire station, kill them. If they can't have authority, they can't play by the rules, you don't want them to freelance, but you want them to say, this is our incident command procedure, you will follow this, here's your radio. But if you just said, I'm going to put you 2 people on duty 24 hours a day in there, and they're going to be responsible and they outrank you. Over, dead, might as well have a funeral for them.
How has the relationship between city fire people and rural fire people changed? Has that changed?
The change is real good. Florence City Fire Department's a city of 40,000 fire stations, 80 career. They have an excellent fire chief, and they're a Class 1 ISO. He figured out 6 or 8 or 10 years ago when he came on board, my best manpower pool are in these trained volunteers. And he goes, my gosh, I got real help now. He didn't used to want to call so-and-so fire department to come, a bunch of yahoos or whatever. Now, they all coming in with shiny, good fire trucks, good stuff on, and they operate safe and play by the same rules.
2 questions.
Sure.
Hiring of firemen, do the local fire chiefs get to hire their own people?
Yes, sir. But I'm going to tell you up front that I do have a little question about that today, and we have a specific issue that I haven't got it settled. I don't feel it's proper for me to discuss it yet. But I think the county needs more direct control of the hiring. And I don't know the exact answer. Okay, we're working on it. But ultimately, the county administrator or somebody needs to have authority over hiring. Okay, I haven't got the answer. But it's a point that needs to be understood. Our contract says they're not county employees. I'm not 100% sure that was right. You know, everything's not perfect anytime you do it. If you're going to go buy a new car, build a new house, you change something. I don't particularly like that we don't have more direct control over who the chiefs are.
Yeah, you're talking about distributing money based on volume, calls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do y'all have a rubric set up for your equipment, timeline for some of that stuff
Yes, sir. We
expires?
have a master plan for all of the equipment and everything.
So regardless, they're, whatever those packs are called,
Yeah.
there were so
They
many
last
years they're
15
cycled
years.
out.
Yeah.
Did y'all have any districts that maybe want to pay more than what they're getting? Meaning,
To the salaries.
no, for equipment, want to buy more equipment?
Some of them are buying some brush trucks. We got a couple that have bought boats, but nothing on a big scale.
How are those departments collecting the extra revenue? Are they special
Oh.
purpose districts, or are they?
No, sir, they strictly get money from us. Here's another Kevinism. You can carry 15% of your budget over unrestricted. Now, think about that. That keeps them penny pitching. If I'm giving you $500,000 a year to run your department, you can keep 15% of it at the end of the year, unrestricted. Now, that doesn't mean we write them a check. Kevin keeps the money, but they can present for and pay for it. So you think they run a tight ship? Well, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Frugal. Sir, did you have one other question? I'm sorry.
I'll come back to it. I forgot.
Okay.
I didn't write it down.
Couple things. All the budget stuff goes through you.
Yes, sir. It comes to me through my advisory committee,
And then it
And you have
follows.
the two advisory committees, funding and management,
Yeah.
work with you during the budget.
Absolutely.
So the districts present budgets to those committees,
Yes, sir.
and then you meet with the two committees to
Yes,
decide
sir.
how that, and
We're
then you go to
working
the
on-
finance director, and then ultimately
Right, we're
council.
working on 2019's budget. I'm going to tell you, I don't know how much you followed Florence County. West Florence Fire Department elected to opt out of the plan. They got their legislators to create a special purpose two-county district in Darlington, Florence County. It was a weak attempt. We sued them and we won at the Supreme Court. Okay, we just took them back in. There's a windfall of money coming to our district this year, and we're taking $1 million and putting it in a reserve fund, an agreement of everybody. So at the end of this budget year, we're going to have $1 million cash reserve.
What is the makeup of your unified district, municipality, rural, special purpose? What does that makeup look like?
Okay, in our district, Olana, Quimby, Pamplico, and Johnsonville, small towns, that'd be 2,500 down to 500. Rest rural, and then the city of Florence and the city of Lake City are independent. And then South Lynch's Fire District, which is a two-county special purpose, 60 in Florence, 40 in Williamsburg, created 40 years ago, is still independent.
Why didn't y'all sue them?
I'm going to tell you why we didn't put them in. We want them, but remember, I was the chief of that outfit, and I know everything about it. Their level of services here, they were already a class 4 with all new fire trucks with everything, and it would not have benefited them. They would have been budget neutral. Is that a good term?
So they
What
created their
revenue-
own district.
Sir, they kept their own district. I'm not an advocate of that, but it was politically budget neutral. If their budget's $1 million a year, they generate $1 million. They wouldn't add anything to Unified, they wouldn't take anything, versus some of the others.
So,
But they were a special purpose to begin
Absolutely.
with.
To begin with,
So
a
they-
true special
so they
purpose.
kept it, and they didn't hurt anybody or help anybody. They
But
took
they
care of.
play in all the games.
But they were a special purpose. to
Yeah,
begin
this
with.
fire was actually in South Lynch's Fire District. They played well, they've been a leader of everything there is, from mutual aid to rural water supply to 5-inch hose to joint on everything.
So it is possible somebody is a special district to stay a special district.
Absolutely, but here's what I think we'll do. I think that their tax millage, funded only with tax money, is stagnant with the growth in that district. And inflation is just about to outpace it. And then they'll say, hey, boys, I want to play.
Now, what kind of socioeconomic district is that? How are they ranked?
They have one thing that everybody else doesn't have, and that's Manheim Plastics. 40% of the budget. Okay? Everything else was agriculture, tobacco, cotton, flat. Inflation is far outpacing growth. It's a simple economic situation. So they're making their budget fine today. They're running fine. They're making things happen. They participated in the 1% sales tax.
And they were a special tax district set up by state law.
State law, not by
district
county
set up by
council.
county council.
Right.
Yeah, there's a difference.
And they're
There's a big
elected,
difference.
they have an elected commission by the taxpayers versus your tax districts that you appoint boards. You're ultimately responsible for them.
I got a couple more.
Keep on, I love it.
Quick question.
Billy's buying supper, so I'm not
Do the county council appoint those boards? Fire boards?
There are no fire boards in the county
Okay.
except the administrative boards and county council
Okay.
appoints those.
Then I'm confused because you said each fire district had its own board.
Yeah, they have, let me go over it again with you, real simple.
A fire department has a nonprofit corporation, an elected board within the
So
organization.
that's outside the county council.
Purview. County council hires me, all the districts report to me, and council appointed 2 members from each district to be on my board.
Which is the funding and the management. So the actual fire districts create their own boards. Okay, next question. When you're
Yeah.
dealing with some of the cities, okay,
Yes.
one of the things we run into is we'll have a city where you have a fire bureau right outside the city.
Easy.
Do you
Which one?
subcontract?
I got you.
Okay.
I don't have an easy answer for that today. We did not address that. Easley's too big to say, I'm gonna take you over. And I don't know the demographics of what's around Easley. I don't, annexation is a major issue. Florence is
As a
gobbling
borough
up
produces,
West Florence, if you remember.
yeah,
They don't care about North Florence. They don't care about anything
they don't
else.
need to.
But they taking those McMansions over there in West Florence, but they go around. Take you. They go 52 to I-95, they leave all the dilapidated weekly, daily stay motels and got the Hamptons and the whatever in the city. Who's gonna put them out? All of us.
So do you subcontract with the cities to take care of
No
those?
cities, no cities.
There
There are
you
only
operate
2.
completely separate, no subcontract.
But I'm not saying that couldn't be worked out. I don't know enough about Easley and their protection
That's
district.
been your situation.
I tell you, I would want y'all to evaluate that on the local level and see what's most advantageous. They might be doing an area, but do they get the exact money collected in their fire protection district?
Whatever's in the unincorporated area for that district, we reimburse that to the city based on the
So,
percentage.
is there any industry or business in that?
I'm not as familiar with what's in
Some
that.
of them are.
So the point is, the real money in funding is first in industry. 10.5 unless they fee and lieu, that's debatable issue. Or 6% in commercial, that's big money. Residential property will not pay for fire protection. And
On your plan that you presented us tonight, how did you get there? You know, how different is your plan now than when you originally started? And then also, who did you pattern your plan after? Because it appears to be well thought out.
Number one, I did use some of that from the study. Okay, it was not something you throw in the trash can. Some of the chiefs might say, that's worthless. Oh, it's really got some basic good stuff in it. Number two, there are a couple of good fire departments in North Carolina. One is around Wilmington, North Carolina. New Hanover County is a good one. And I'd have to think a little bit. Al Mike can help me. Guilford County is one that's been very successful, that the same study outfit did theirs. This is a hard thing to believe. They're in phase 3 in Wilmington, and the city's gonna take over the county fire protection totally. It'll be one unit. They've evolved from where we are to Consolidated County Fire, and the city of Wilmington's coming in, and they're gonna have one total entity in the county.
Single son of Columbia Richland.
Yeah, but it's a lot.
I was a lot smoother than that.
Please, please.
What'd you do to get your fire chiefs to buy in?
Fire chiefs buy in, get them in the room, let them cuss, fuss, carry on, and so you got to understand, I'm not going to be your chief. I am not going to your fire calls. I've done enough of that in my
So
life.
who answers to who? Do y'all, like, are you over the fire chiefs?
They all come to me, but that's where I'm getting back to the employment. Ultimately, they report to their board, but they can't get the money if they don't play the game. We got direct control, but in all honesty, from here forward, I think the chiefs ought to be hired by the
Did
administration.
y'all ever contemplate doing a referendum or what?
Council took it on.
But do they, if they're, my question, I
Yes.
will understand what you're saying. They are accountable to that board,
Absolutely.
okay?
And we have.
But who, if the county administrator hires them, they're accountable to that administrator, correct?
I have to figure
Or
out-
do we hire them and then say you're accountable to
It's
those?
going to have to be some simultaneously with the approval of and recommendation, the administrator will. But
Who do your firemen get their paychecks? Are they county paychecks or are they fire department paychecks?
So you truly are subcontracting these guys
Truly
now.
subcontract.
They're a contractor.
They've got a 501, each entity has set up their own
They have their own
governing body.
CPAs, their own
So they
accounting.
really do have autonomy on themselves, but by doing this, you get the money to make sure it meets what the standards need to be
Well,
met.
the county's not taking advantage of it.
No, you basically set the standards that have to be met. Okay.
And it's nothing more than out of contract to a contractor. You're basically saying you got to do this to get this. And so that's
I don't know, I feel awkward saying this with Al, who's a good friend, of course, with Billy. I will say that I don't like fee based on property versus tax. I think taxes, there are a few things that it's really fair to fund, and fire protection's one because it's based on actual value of the property. And that same property gets the same insurance savings. So if you got a $100,000 house, you get this much and you pay that much. If you got a $500,000 house, you pay this much and you get that much savings.
Did you do anything with vacant property?
You have vacant property, that presents risk. You know, there's the argument in the history of fire service in South Carolina. I don't want a farm. I don't want to pay it. You're paying 4% all the way. It's valued at $300 an acre. Oh, when your wood's catching on fire, do you want me to come? Forester's got 5 tractors in the county. You want to wait on them to get here, or you want me to go?
They don't ever fight the fire anyway. You do.
So what all y'all have a millage on?
Tell me what ad valorem.
Well, you gotta have a tax, it's uniform basis, real property,
Everything.
personal property, so it's
We tax
land, buildings,
everything.
vehicles, boats.
Because we already do a $20 road use fee on vehicles here.
23, sir.
Well, no, we do 20, but that's for vehicles.
Yes.
That's for roads, paving of
But
roads.
that includes in the town of Easley and wherever
That's
as
right.
well.
The whole county, we do that.
Ours
But that's for
only,
roads.
yeah, we have 60,000 vehicles in the fire protection district.
So you're only, the vehicle's only in the rural area.
You only get charged,
If you can't do that outside of your jurisdiction.
sir, I'm sorry.
You couldn't do that outside of your jurisdiction anyway. Yeah.
So, you know, it's not good.
So what would you do to make it better?
The first thing I would do is figure out how to have more direct control on that fire chief. Because if he gets wavered, and I don't have no problem with that, but if he gets wavered, I'm gonna have a problem getting rid of him. I had one, unfortunately, he retired. But gosh, I don't want to get near to saying where it was. But I had a fire chief and his president of a nonprofit or a fire district commission, as it was then, that if somebody pushed, they could have gone to jail. Okay? You know, y'all explain it to me in government. I can't figure it in finance. You know, from Trump down to Lake City, people will steal money. And they will fleece the system. And they will take advantage of a situation. And if the county wanted to do something to a fire chief, are y'all single member district, I'm sure? Single member district councilman?
Yes.
And what big fire departments in your district?
We got, most of them are in my
Well,
district.
just name me one of them, because I don't know them.
Holly Springs, got Holly Springs, Pumpkin Town.
Okay, Pumpkin Town. If he, and y'all don't like the fire chief there, but you do, because you can only get elected if you got him, you have a hard time with it. I think that's a weakness in my system. Okay? Does that make sense? I don't have the exact answers, Al. Your attorney, where is it better? I'd look around, but that's one thing that I would do.
What was some of the negative feedback you got from your taxpayers when y'all implemented that ordinance?
I'm gonna tell you what, it's been great.
What
I'm gonna tell you the honest truth. I'm in the courthouse, in the county complex. The treasurer's office is right there. They pay the taxes. I go in there and I'm listening. I wanna know, are they complaining about fire protection? Realize that out of the 7, only 1 was paid less than 19. House Springs, Windy Hill, Olana, they're paying 24. Johnsonville, 40. So in general, and I know that I asked somebody in here, what's your highest tax district? Y'all are talking in the 50s. Well, my gosh. What if everybody paid, they're probably the most affluent people, biggest houses. Well, you don't want to put any more on them. You want to cut their tax bill and give them better fire protection. Realize what their needs are. Do they have career departments? Were they charging 50 mils?
I mean, they're combination. They're combination requirements.
You got to figure out with the bunches that wear the bugles. You got to figure out how to make it fly. If the taxpayer is happy with his fire chief and his fire department, your life's good. If that fire chief ain't happy, he's going to pester you worse than any other soul in your county.
Oh, I know you need to go. And it's been a long time. A procedural question.
Yes, sir.
You got your report back in May
Yes.
2013.
Yes.
Did you pass an ordinance at that point?
14. You got an ordinance and everything.
But you did it the next year?
Yes, sir.
Did you come up with your plan of what you're going to do before you pass the ordinance?
Absolutely.
So you had it all laid out when you went to
Yes,
the
sir.
ordinance, and then it implemented the ordinance as a plan showed?
Yes, sir.
And it took you a year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't do anything.
So that plan was developed before it came before council?
Sir?
That plan was developed from A to Z in detail before it came before council?
Before it became an ordinance.
Sorry?
The council bought in
Absolutely.
initially.
Right.
They were part of the plan.
Right.
Before the
They
ordinance.
did everything that y'all are trying to do. Let me pick this thing apart.
Yeah.
I don't want it. My chief doesn't think he wants to be a part of it. You know what you can get out of it? Yeah. And it's
It kind of brings us to where we are tonight. That's what Al has to hand off to you tonight for information for the council.
And you paid $90,000 for your plan, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being here tonight. I am very grateful. I don't have a $90,000 check for you, but thank you for
It was a
being here.
nice dinner.
It's a real expensive dinner.
You had credit cards here.
Let's give it around.
Mr. Brogdon, thank you so much for taking the time
Well,
and coming
I
up
got
here.
another question. Sure. What battalion were you in at the Citadel?
1st Battalion, Bravo at the beach.
That's what my daughter is, sophomore.
As a cadet.
Wow.
Where is she? In which country?
Bravo, 1st Battalion.
Watch online on Facebook today.
What is it?
Citadel, Facebook. I had a classmate call me and say, I got them live, Chadry jumping on them right now. Facebook.
Hey, Billy, if you ain't got your credit card, he can come by my house, we got leftovers.
I've been on the phone with my wife, I got meatloaf and mashed taters, so.
I can handle all of that. Look at me.
Kenny's cooking right there.
Kids cooking tonight?
So I enjoy it. It's my life. It's my passion.
Thank you very much.
You got a good plan, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Mr. Wallen, that brings us to you.
Yes, so I'm going to make it short for you. You'll see here, just to kind of break this down just a little bit, this is a bullet point presentation. Just kind of outlining some of the highlighted items that the Emergency Services Board has discussed. Like I said before, this is not just a plan for fire. This has some rescue built into it, also EMS response. some things that's kind of notable to what he talked about. You could probably say that, when you first hear the numbers and sit there and do things, and when you think about Florence, always think about 95 and things running through there. From a millage rate standpoint, they're not too far off from where Pickens County is now. I actually did the math real quick, so we're talking somewhat about apples to apples comparison. However, some things to note, because there were some questions, is each fire district has a 501(c). Currently, I don't know of a fire district in Pickens County that is structured like that with a 501(c), which means they provide their own insurance, they provide their own governing board, so on and so forth, payroll services, et cetera, things like that. So if that's the case, and I just don't know about that, so the way the county is structured currently is different than how they were structured before. Of course, keep in mind, I think you all asked about a plan. Basically they were able to hand cancel a pretty detailed documented plan that they had a hand in making. And, I would say probably back then, if it was $90,000, that's what you could expect a county this size to pay for a comprehensive plan to move forward. As an emergency services board, some things that I want you all to understand. We don't look to decrease anybody's service right now. We also don't look at taking over fire stations and changing the dynamics of the fire stations. If anything, we have been advocates of making sure that the identity keeps its, that each district keeps its identity. Last council meeting, I was asked by you, Mr. Whitehurst, as far as how many fire chiefs were contacted and all that. We've had a question and answer session that I'm pretty sure we got almost 90% of all the fire chiefs and even some of their boards to come to for a question and answer session. We asked for any feedback, questions to be submitted in email. To date, I have received none. I have, however, had conversations with about two fire chiefs and actually 2 board members, and they've been invited to every meeting that we've had. Anytime we have a meeting, I make sure that I reach out to them and invite them to the meeting. So we really try to do whatever we can to bridge that gap or let everybody know. We simply want to improve the fire service, but also improve the emergency services within the county. And we feel like we've got to start somewhere. We are a volunteer board put together. We meet at least once a month, and we're in limbo. We're kind of spinning our wheels until we can get some traction and move forward. You'll see on the back of this a timeline. Today, as we sit here today, because of how things work, the earliest that that the county would notice an impact goes into 2020, 2021. So even if we start putting the wheels in motion today, there's a lot of work that has to be done. No one can really take that on until we know which direction that you all want to go. And that's really when I say that. Our last meeting was, hey, we're pretty much at a standstill. The county's got a lot of areas to look at. Rescue, we even talked about EMS, we talked about fire, we talked about other things, and we're just at a place to where there is a stalemate until we know which way that you all want to go and we have some direction to move forward. We did give you a brief snapshot, if you will, a 3-year snapshot. I'll be first and foremost to tell you that I spent a lot of time on this over the past year, and to get further past to the 3-year mark is going to take a lot more time, and quite frankly, I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. So that's why you have what you have here. As far as an outline, we would like to start working with each of the fire districts to formulate, hey, who needs what? Okay? We have departments that tell us they don't need anything, and we have departments that tells us that they need a lot. That was evidenced in the last council meeting when you had other people kind of voice their opinion. We don't need anything, or we need this. Well, at the end of the day, we need to come together and start having those meetings. But why have those meetings if we don't know if we're going to be able to do anything? So you will see on this timeline things like a committee to explore apparatus, just exactly what Mr. Brockman talked about, as far as to see what's needed within the county, who needs what, to make sure that everything's integrated and looking. So we're not looking at doing this 100%. We're not looking at putting it on county employees. We're actually looking at soliciting to the county's fire service that is currently in place, and how can we bridge that gap. I would say one of the biggest things that we looked at is how can we do more with less. We have realized that in the county currently, there is a handful of employees, but also a handful of volunteers and part-time employees that are currently EMT certified and paramedics that come from other departments and or have been in the county. They currently can't use their skills when they're with their fire department, and we're looking at trying to change that. So that then that's going to help and aid in EMS. We've even looked at possibly adding QRVs, which would be another firefighter and or paramedic combined into one that could help not only respond to fires, but also respond to EMS calls.
QRV.
Quick response vehicle. I'm sorry. So strategically located throughout the county. You will see that on a map that we did. That is just a simple, more or less, hey, this is the groundwork. Not saying this is the nuts and bolts and this is what we want to take to say that it's the gospel, but it's a pretty close plan. Not saying that it can't be tweaked. I tweaked a little bit. We really don't know what we're working with because the plan that we developed before and the monies that was there has all changed. Every year that goes by, and as people buy and as people change, debt goes up, debt goes down, all of that changes. So we really don't even know financially where to start until you all decide which course of direction that you all want to go. But I'm not going to bore you with the details. I know you all can read it. If you all have questions, by all means, you can ask any of us, and we'll try to help you out with that as much as possible. But any questions for tonight? I know we've been going for a while, so I don't want to.
So, as a board, what are you recommending for us to do?
So as a
What
board,
action
we
do we-
recommend that you take our proposal that's in front of you, which is to basically expand the Emergency Services Board to a 12-member board, which would be 1 from each council district and 6 at-large seats. We would ask that because not every fire district has a board representation, we would ask that you dissolve those boards and reallocate those people within our board so that we can start working on budgets and funding and working on the plan to go forward. We're also looking at for you all to look at, I guess through ordinance, a way for us to start looking at how we can start to prepare a budget for the next upcoming year and so on and so forth.
So in consideration of getting rid of all the fire fees and going to a millage system.
That is correct.
Like he had talked
Yes,
about.
You just say dissolve local fire boards?
And then expand our Emergency Services Board. We're currently at 7 members. I think we're at 7 members now, and we'd like to go to 12.
You don't think what Florence does would work here?
Well, that would work if you had fire departments that was 501(c)(3)s.
Even though they couldn't, do you not think they could still get together with work on budget recommendations like they do?
Making some 501(c)(3) is not a big deal.
No, it's not a big deal, but that's why they have those boards. But then it still goes. They have an advisory board. So the county, Forest County has an advisory board to do what the Emergency Services Board is doing.
But now, if we did a 501(c)(3), would that mean they would handle their own insurance and all that stuff too?
So by law, a 501(c) has to have a governing board.
Right.
That's the only reason they have a board. They still submit a budget to that advisory board.
Right.
Which would be, their boards would submit a budget to us, which would then, we would take that budget and submit it to finance, to you all. I think you're just putting another middleman into place.
It sounds like a good idea what they were doing though.
I think it's something we got to talk about at another
Yeah.
time, because we got to get into the weeds.
I would
and figure
say
out how
from
that works.
a larger picture, okay, and serving on the Springs Board, we were nothing more than an advisory board anyway. You all, at the end of the day, have ultimate supreme authority. So the reason why they actually have those boards there is not so much to govern a budget, but to govern the actual fire department. They just put in a request for monies. That That fire department board that acts as the 501(c)(3) board is more for the governing operation. What we're looking at doing is not excluding anyone, but taking 12 members from around the county and that becoming your advisory board, so that we help to advocate monies and appropriations, and everybody would have a voice. Everybody would be represented without having another middleman.
One of the drawbacks, and I think Sam brought this out in his, was that there is this deal that the chief works for that advisory board, whereas they draw their paycheck from the county. I think if we left the fire boards in place, that's the issue we're going to run into. The boards would feel like that chief answers to them ultimately when they don't. In this case, they answer to Mr. Wilson as county administrator.
Chiefs never answer the boards, do they? They're not, they answer to him.
There is some settlement out there that would be the case if you kept the board in place in each fire department, each fire district.
You asked me what I'd change. I'm not totally 100% thinking the 501(c)(3) is the right vehicle. It was 4 years ago. I wouldn't think it might be. It's harder and harder to get good boards of any kind of thing.
But if you went with a 501(c)(3) boards, then basically they would be responsible for paying salaries and doing everything.
Well, you're looking at me, so let me just say, so they're going to buy their own separate financial systems. They're going to have to have their own tax ID number, which isn't a big deal. They're going to have to hire their own independent CPAs. You're adding on to your cost for operational
like
costs.
a lot of duplicated.
Yeah,
Right.
Let me just tell you this.
That would, to me, would be a drawback.
I believe at our finance committee meeting that they agreed to hire, to drop independently having CPAs and hire one firm in the county. They're already seeing it's too expensive to have.
There's ways to work through that part.
Pardon me?
There's ways to work through that. We got to find that right thing that keeps that independence, but at the same time, we have the oversight.
Well, I think that's what you have in front of you. We are keeping each individual fire district. The Pumpkintown Fire District remains the Pumpkintown Fire District. The Springs Fire District remains the Springs Fire District. We're not looking at coming in, if you're saying you're going to give me the checkbook and you're going to give me the magic wand to make things happen, you keep every fire chief that's currently sitting, and they've got to come together, because they don't get along now, okay, within the county. So they've got to come together, and they've got to function under a set of guidelines that needs to be drawn out, written out, and so that they can operate their fire departments based on such. And as he said, I think it's one of the most remarkable things. If anything that was said here tonight, keep this in mind. This county could not operate without volunteers. We're trying to put a vehicle in place that retains, recruits, and trains volunteers. And if you don't do those 3 things, you won't have volunteers for very long. They've done that. As you can see, their equipment, pictures of their equipment and stations. I know you may think, well, you know, a $2.5 million station, that's not going to be needed in this county. That's a 50-year plus station. Most of the stations built in this county today are in very much need of remodels, refurbs, additions, or they're in the wrong location. So that's because somebody went out and bought a station that was needed for today and not looking ahead for the 50-plus year mark. We see it all across the state. So what you have here is a preservation of Pickens County as it sits. It does combine a funding source that is fair and equitable across the county, and then it's going to start to provide a capital plan that everybody would agree on. And obviously, as that starts to transition, we're going to, the advisory board, this ESD board that you all formed, would be able to then go out and have committees of fire chiefs that could tell us what is needed within the county. Whether that's stations, personnel, equipment, so on and so forth.
No, Mr. Wilson, if I'm not mistaken, I saw an email from Mr. Roper clarifying that the ordinance that created the Emergency Services Board, it didn't put a cap or makeup necessarily in place, so adding additional members takes no action.
It takes no action other than you guys to do the appointment.
Correct.
We are not asking, so what we're not asking for tonight is we're not asking for the funding vehicle. We feel like that there is some legwork that would need to be done as in this is not going to recommend a funding vehicle either. This is just going to say what it's going to take, and we're good, and then you've got to decide on what we're going to do and how we're going to fund it, as far as the exact millage, things like that. And the reason for that is how much has changed dynamically, financially within the county since our last time of doing this. And it's going to change 3 months from now, or 6 months from now, or so on and so forth. So that's what we're asking for you all to consider, to allow the county basically to organize a little bit more formula or formally through the Emergency Services Board so that we can start to put together this plan to go forward. As far as stations staying open and staffed and current, we're not looking at changing anything. If anything, we're trying to add personnel in some strategic locations. Another big goal that we have is any volunteer fire department that does not have coverage, we are looking at trying to add coverage to any and all volunteer stations within the county within the first 5 years. And there's a plan to do that, to stair-step that up. Somewhat like what Oconee County has done. They now at least have daytime coverage at every station within Oconee County. So it's a similar plan to that.
Councilman Whitehurst, you said something a long time ago that resonated with me, that this is something that this council has looked to try to do for years, and they always seem to kick the can down the road. In my opinion, they're at a point now where they want us to take some basic steps to begin this process moving forward. We still need to talk about things, I know.
Here's my, go ahead.
So I'm asking you guys, what, as a council, how do we, they're stalemate, they're stagnant, they're making recommendations. If we're going to go down this process, this is what we need to do. I don't know how we get to the end game by getting deep into the weeds without starting the process. So I'm looking to you guys.
Here's my first point. This is the first time I've seen any of this. It's the first time I've heard that.
Sure.
And I understand you thought through all this stuff. We want to expand the council to this many people. We got this. I need to digest this.
I agree.
I need to talk to the fire chiefs in my areas and say, okay, I'm not at a point to formulate. I hadn't even been through this yet.
Right.
And it's like I literally saw this tonight for the first time. So I'm not prepared to vote.
Oh, no.
For anything tonight, or to recommend, or come out of here and say we want to expand the board until I at least know what I'm looking at.
Where I was going with this is we're in a unique situation this month where we've got a council meeting coming up and then another committee of the whole meeting. Now, I know we're getting jam-packed with stuff, but I would like to make a recommendation. We put this on the next committee of the whole meeting so that we can talk about it. We do our own due diligence. In other words, I don't want to go another month or 2 months down the road. I want we need to start doing our work and then get back together, and we'll have to add that to the next committee of the whole meeting if you guys are in agreement, Mr. Famester.
I'd like for us to look at this timeline next time and see if we can make sure that's the best way to go, and then set some dates that we
meet those goals. I agree. That way, you can put us on a schedule so that you guys aren't going, well, we all do.
Right. Well, any questions for me dealing with this from the last time that we met? I know there's been a lot of conversations. There's been a few town halls. Anything come up that we can discuss or talk about?
Okay.
Thank you very much, and again, thank Mr. Rockington for coming up, because that was very
thank you, Al.
enlightening.
To the board.
Yeah, and the Emergency Services Board, you guys are awesome. Thank you.
I did have to deal with James Corey the other day. That's the first time I said this year. He was like, tired.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's wore out. He is. We'll see.
Don't send us a bill for $90,000, please.
Okay. Not yet.
Can we get a copy of that?
Yes, we'll send electronic copies of both details.
Is he looking at us?
The report they got is powerful.
Everything you've seen tonight, you can get electronic copies of it.
And that $90,000 deal.
Yeah, the $90,000 deal.
We'll have all three of those.
right, we're going to move on to our next item, implementation of new federal guidelines for purchasing relative to grants, log number 94.
I can go real quick with that, or we can take a while. Basically, federal government a couple years ago implemented, they have like 8 different regulations for handling federal grants. They've combined it to make it a uniform grant system, so we've gotten rid of 8 regulations, brought it down to 1 regulation. You have in your handout policy and procedure that I came up with. I've also attached the whole regulation that comes from the federal government that cites everything. This is one of the things we have to grants going further for federal grants. Our auditors have reviewed this. They're fine with it. So since it's a policy, we have to have council actually approve it.
So you wrote the policy and our council
I found
verified
it. Yeah, I had a template. I'm not going to say I wrote it, hand wrote every word, but
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
I did do a search on Google and found one that's similar to ours. Put in the stuff that we needed. And, I didn't want you to think I started from
the first half.
And the count, I've read it and about wiped me out.
Well, I gave it.
I fell asleep reading the first half of it.
I gave you everything that was cited from the
I
federal
didn't go into
government.
that one, you know.
Well, that really puts you to sleep.
Yeah.
So anyway, this
Okay,
is
well, I
something we
think
have to do for policies. We can go through it, but it's only for federal grants.
Right.
It's not for a state grant. It's not how we handle our local money, anything like that. It's for federal grants only.
So-
78,613, subsection 200.42, letter C, there's a period missing.
Oh, my God.
I fell asleep right there.
Stop.
I wasn't going to say that. I was trying to be nice. I know.
Thank you, Trey. I appreciate it,
Okay.
Chris.
So we need to vote on taking this out to put it at the council meeting to vote on it?
Yes. Okay, motion second.
I'll make a motion that we send this to council for approval as
Presented.
presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Ames, your second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. All right, move it out to the next council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. The most patient man in the room. Oh, yeah.
On this one here, on our next one, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
Jay's Defense has got a lot of things to bring for you guys tonight. We're talking about 150-year celebration. We've had a lot of ideas thrown at us from the boards, from council members and so forth. And in fairness, Jay needs to get some answers, I guess, pretty quick. We're talking about an event in 2 months, we still don't have the funding. Some of the funding's probably going to scare you to death to see it tonight, so we're going to be prepared for that. Jay, you got 30 seconds.
Thank you. I can do it in 30 seconds.
I was teasing about 30 seconds.
What I'm going to hand you is a carte blanche look at some of the things that we were asked to do, some of the directives that we got. And what you're going to have in front of you is what each event would cost us if we go all out to do the things that we've been asked to do. None of the money's spent.
Actually, one more.
And really, all I want you to do is to look at it and kind of tell me the direction you want us to head. So I'll give it to you in short, sweet, and simple. We kicked around several different locations. We decided that we would do it at Red Owens Field and Easley. There's some concerns there, some logistical issues that I'm concerned about. And number one, that would be that it's on the back side of the property. Number two, I'm concerned about parking, so we have some issues to resolve there. And we've got issues, but we also have solutions. But I tell you that because if we do shuttle parking, which we're going to have to do, will people show up if they know they can't get to their car quickly if they want to go home? And because it's on the back side of the property, parking at the space is going to be limited. So there's a couple of issues there that I'm concerned about that we're going to work our way through that I haven't really included in a budget on this. So when you look at the first page, or first 2 pages, you're looking at the sesquicentennial October 6th celebration. I've kind of broken it down as to all the vendors that we've talked to, different individual bands that we've talked to, and what it's going to take to pull off a host of things. So I want to draw your attention down to stage and entertainment, because that's a fairly large item there. If we bring in a celebrity headliner, we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $40,000, plus the rider would include another $1,000 in needs that they would have. So we're looking at $41,000 there. If you bring in a headliner of the size group we're talking about, and I'll just be frank here, it's the Oak Ridge Boys, and they're available, and we've got them on hold for now, but don't have them on hold for long. Their requirement's going to be a sizable stage outdoors that will cost us about $42,000. If we don't want to bring in a headliner, we want to use local talent, then that $41,000 goes away, that $42,000 is reduced. So you're looking at $80,000, a little bit more than that, $83,000 tied up there. The other thing that I want you to look at is we were asked to look into a drone show, something that we haven't done in this county before. It's completely different than a fireworks show. We're talking about bringing in 100 drones, bringing in a company that would bring in drones, program a show for us specifically after the event is over with, much like a fireworks show, but it would be a drone show. To do that, it's very expensive. You're looking at anywhere at a minimum of $60,000 up to $80,000. The company's available. They've got us on hold, and if we want to pursue that, we can go after it. If not, and we want to do a fireworks show, we can do a fireworks show for as little as 10 or as much as 40, are some of the prices that we have there. So this is if we go all out and just kind of do a huge event, you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $180,000 to $250,000. A lot of money. And my concern is, if we spend that kind of money, are we going to bring the people in to enjoy it? But I need your direction on this. If this is something you don't want to do, then kind of give us a guideline as to the direction you want us to head in, and we'll celebrate in that way.
Do you have companies that are willing to offset some of the costs through sponsorships?
We do. We haven't officially gone after the money yet, but I know that Jim Kaplan is anxious to sit down and talk to us, and we're going to meet with him. I know that we are talking about putting together a proposal where we have LED walls for advertising purposes throughout the course of the day and the evening on the 6th, and intermittent breaks during different bands that come out, so that we can advertise that way and bring in corporate dollars and sponsorships to help offset the cost in that manner, if that makes sense.
So there's no way to know what that might be, though.
Well, based on the direction I get tonight, the next couple of weeks, that's all I'm doing, is fundraising for this event and really for the whole year. And I'm talking specifically about the October 6th event, because other events, I've got other funding sources we're working on as well.
How much do you think you could raise to offset that total cost for this?
That's a loaded question. I don't have a good answer for that. I don't know how much people are willing to give, but I would like to think we could go after a $40,000 to $50,000 sponsorship, but they're going to want to sponsor a headliner. The one individual I'm thinking about has indicated he would like to get involved with us. That's if we bring in a headliner, and so that's where that cost would go. And we've got two directions we can head here. You can go with all local talent and save a lot of money and have local followings. People can come out and enjoy seeing local bands play. And I've got hold on several of them. The Swinging Medallions is one. The Piedmont Boys is another. Luke Smith and his band is one. The Yams, we've talked to them about coming out and performing as well. We know we're doing Pickens Got Talent out there on the stage that night. And there are a couple of other local bands that we're talking to. We're going to bring some of those on anyway, leading up to that big headliner, if that's the direction.
I don't think you know this yet, and I contacted America's Got Talent, and they're going to give front passes to the auditions for the TV show. They're very excited about us doing that. I want to know how they can help, so I'm going to try to talk to them.
So we'll
see if they can give us some other stuff.
And what about, are we selling tickets, or is it a free event, or how's it going to be handled?
It's a celebration that the county's putting on, plus sponsorships putting on for the people. We haven't even approached talking about a dollar amount. The people who've made up this group, we've had historical societies been involved with us. We've had municipalities. We've had chambers of commerces. We've had a wide variety of people that have met 3 or maybe 4 times to discuss the type of event that we have. We've taken the direction from our chairman on some of the type of things that he would like to see us pursue and see if they were doable and available. And so that's what you have in front of you. It's a combination of everything that we've come up with.
Are any of the municipalities going to do any celebrations on their own?
No, not to my knowledge.
And then like the capsule is up here at the courthouse, right?
Right. And so
where will it be?
we're going to separate an event. I've met with Charles Dalton, who was a part of the capsule 50 years ago. I'm meeting with Pat Welborn on Wednesday, who, through our connection to Hilton, we talked about what to do and how to do it. We're going to create a separate program on Friday. It'll be a VIP type program where we'll gather around. We're going to dig the capsule up a week ahead of time, or we're going to at least check it out, make sure we can get it out of the ground without too much of a problem. And then we're going to determine once the capsule's out whether we need to open it up beforehand or open it up on the spot, so that we'll have a good idea as to what's going to take place before.
You want to take it out of that capsule before you open it.
What you
You think we? Yeah.
What you open up?
And that's been a yes. Yes.
You open it up and then do a recreated open it up as if it's the first time.
Well, and
you know, but you don't know.
Well, that's what we're going to do, though. We're going to, part of what's on this budget is a video crew, which is going to do a documentary as to everything that we are doing and everything that, with the capsule. And I will tell you this, we're going to not bury a capsule at that point in time. We're going to get our school districts involved. We're going to get the museum involved. And we're going to actually log this time around everything that's going into the capsule, and we're going to enlarge the capsule, and we're going to have children who are in the 3rd grade today who will be the ones 50 years from now going, I want to see that, what I put in the capsule. So we're working on that to do the burial of the capsule a little later on in the year.
If we went all local talent and cuts it way down, but then if we combine that with a talent contest.
We are doing the talent contest.
Yeah, okay.
That is part of it.
Well, at the same time, if you have a sponsor that only wants to sponsor a headliner, and he's only interested in sponsoring a headliner, let him sponsor the headliner, and you got a headliner too. That's what I'm saying. Until you know what you got for individual, sponsorships, you really don't know what you're asking for.
Is this taking place all in one day?
Yes.
So we're going to do a talent show, have a headliner, have local talent, have a fireworks show, have amusement rides.
It will be a full-on.
It's a
full day. It's an old-time county fair is where we are with it. I don't know if y'all seen the advertisements. The beard contest has already started. Bake-offs, cook-offs, those are underway. The Quilting Guild is involved. They want to bring their quilts and show us how they make quilts. The amusement rides are really for the kids so that the parents can bring their kids out and do stuff like that, have fun things going on. The main stage is kind of center of everything, and we start that at noontime where we have one band, one act, Pickens Got Talent, local talent, the Yams, all going throughout the course of the day performing, and then we end up that night with whatever we decide to do, and then a fireworks show or a drone show following that. We've got Barbecue Guild out of Charleston who's going to sanction a barbecue contest, and we're recruiting a host of different barbecue vendors as well as other vendors to come out and feed the people and things of that nature. So it's our Founders Day, old-timey.
Now the rides, is there a cost for an individual to ride a ride?
At this point, we're not charging anybody anything. Yeah, we're saying come and be a part of our 150th year celebration, and this is on the county and sponsors that we go out and recruit and bring on board.
How much have we given to Mark Woods so far?
75.
So we figured $75,000 for that deal. But the cost now is $123,000.
Well,
Oconee County.
Yeah, we were 75 for us and 75 for Oconee.
Are we under budget or over budget with that?
Oconee County's pulled out.
Oconee County's pulled out.
Right. Let me talk to you about Mark Woods. We can skip to that real quick if you want.
I just thought that was part of our centennial celebration, was doing all that, and we put a big chunk of money there.
Let me tell you where we are with that. We brought Mark Wood in April to kick off what we were doing, to help promote what we want to do in April of 2019. we're overwhelmed at the number of students who want to participate. We were thinking we'd have 1,000. We're close to 2,000 students right now. We're at 1,800, and we haven't even gotten started yet. So in about 3 weeks, the teachers are primed. We've met with them and had workshops with them. They'll receive all the music. They'll receive sheet music as well as MP3 music, and they'll start to teach and recruit their students starting in September. And they'll have from September to April to get them ready. So Little John Coliseum is booked and has come through. It's at a minimal cost. I think I put $20,000 down for Little John. It may not cost us that much. It may be as little as $15,000.
But we're on our own now.
We're on our own.
When did that happen?
Oconee pulled out. Huh?
Germany trip.
Yeah, Oconee pulled out after the Germany trip. Because
I don't know why I didn't know that.
The ice rink, is that for October?
Ice rink is for December.
Okay.
That's the Christmas market. But let me go back and tell you this. I've got a meeting that Davey has set up with Molly Spearman, Superintendent of Education. Molly was Director of Girl State's a friend of mine, and with or Representative Rita Allison, who is Chairman of the Education Committee for the House. And Davey feels like we're going to be able to get money from them to help sponsor the Mark Wood event and take care of that event. So we've got, right now we have on hand $50,000 out of what we spent, out of what you gave us. We spent about $20,000, $25,000 bringing him in the spring, and we need about $73,000 to make this happen.
We don't have any of this budget.
So the October 6th thing could range anywhere between $180K and $250K.
Right.
For one day.
That's right. Or we can cut several things out and bring it down below that. That's
What would be your bottom dollar budget if you went bare bones on some stuff, used local talent and did the fireworks, minimal fireworks show, a decent one, but and then stuff like that versus
I think you could do.
hitting the home
I
run?
think you do October 6th around between $160,000 and $170,000, and that would be local talent.
And we're doing something December too?
Yeah. So let me go in order. The next thing is a Veterans Day show, and we're looking at about a $12,000 deal there. And I will tell you, since I printed this up, some of the costs have reduced here. It's probably going to be more of around $8,000 figure. But this is a salute to our veterans, and we're going to, this will be a jewel in our crown. Mark Woods, I think we're going to, I think you also have to keep in mind that we're going to charge $20 a head to get into this Coliseum. And I think you'll see 10,000 people show up for that. I think we'll sell out, and I'm not sure of any of this, but this is just what I think. And I think you'll see us bring an income of somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 in for this.
How much does Little John hold?
10,000.
Well, they reduced it.
I don't think it holds 10.
9,000 then. Let's just say that, because I know it.
I have a lot of confidence in what Mark Wood can do.
Yeah. I think Mark Wood will make us money, and at the end of the day, I think we're going to have to decide what to do with the money we make off of Mark Wood.
And the ice rink is 219,000.
Well, if let's go over Christmas then, and Billy's here that can help us go through this budget as well. We're talking about doing the 30 days, the 12 days of Christmas over 30 days, and doing 4 weekends in a row out at Haygood Mill. And we're talking about creating a Christmas market there that an atmosphere that would bring people in on a weekly basis during the weekends. So the 12 days of Christmas will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And that would be with our locals. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we bring in school children to do additional things throughout the course of the week during the Christmas week to help educate them. And Billy, you talked to some of the things we're talking about doing if we get specifics. But what he's put together is the tools you need, which are $29,000, tables, chairs, tents, generators. Carnival rides, if we decide to bring those in, is $54,000. If we want to do an ice rink and charge for that for 30 days is $94,000, very expensive. If we go with a synthetic ice machine or synthetic ice rink, that's $36,000. Still a fair amount of money. I'm not sure we do all that the first time out. I mean, I'm thinking you have to start somewhere, start low, and build what we do out there. But
I personally don't like the idea of carnival rides at the Christmas market. I mean, to me, the Christmas market, the idea was to be able to come, experience Christmas, get hot chocolate and coffee and hear people singing and go and shop at different vendors that are set up.
And that's, yes.
This is more like a festival.
This is, yes, a festival, carte blanche. We can take any of this off if we don't want to do it. I'm just showing you everything that we have kind of kicked around that's possible based on some of the directions that we've got. We like the ice rink idea, but the ice rink might not be in that new Heritage Center, and we'll use that for entertainment purposes. But to your point, Mr. Chairman, Christmas carolers, church groups, the live nativity, all those entertaining factors aren't going to cost us much to bring in. We've already been soliciting churches to come in and take a weekend and put a live nativity up. We don't have to commercialize. I think we need decorations for sure, and I think that's going to be an investment that we'll use those decorations forever. You're going to need porta potties. The snowmaking machine, that's something we can do with or without. If we do away with the ice rink, the carnival rides, you can cut this budget down quickly.
This is just a thought process. We really can't afford everything in this year. I guess y'all know that, right?
Oh, man. You think?
And we don't expect you to pay for it.
This is just a thought process. No disrespect to anybody here, but ATAX, the recommendation coming out next Monday night is to fund $10,000 for the Christmas festival with ATAX money. Let's scale back and start small and see how it works, and build as we go year for year for year for year.
Yeah.
And we should look at possibility of donation of some of the things. This thing about the tents, generators, I have a 10 by 20 foot tent I'd be willing to donate, and I have a 3 kW generator, and I'm not sure I can get very good chairs and tables for my church.
Can I want to say something. We just had a whole presentation about what our purpose is as a council. And it's about protecting the public and fire and EMS and roads and police protection. We're not here to entertain. Let's be honest. If we're looking for tourism, nothing against what you're saying. We're trying to get tourism to come into the county to generate tax dollars with accommodation taxes and so forth. Yeah, we should take care of something because it's our 150th year. But one party, one celebration, and then we say, hey, we're celebrating this. But this idea of the county now getting into the festival business, I disagree with, because what we're trying to do, there's going to have people in the county coming, and we're entertaining the people in the county. And that's, well, a lot of festivals we do, that's what happens. And our goal of tourism is to bring people from outside of the county to come in here to provide accommodation tax, and so we can bring more of the tourism into the county. I don't have a problem with Christmas festivals and this stuff, but guys, we ain't got any money, and I'm thinking just trying to do everything one year when we just dropped $70,000, which is going to be another. We got to figure $140,000 or whatever it's going to be for Mark Wood that we didn't plan on.
Well,
what do we
Mark,
do?
I'm not disagreeing with you on this, but Mark Wood, if it holds 9,000, which is what he looked up, if 8,000 paid, that's going to generate 160,000, which more than covers every cost.
Assuming, you know, and
Mark
maybe it
Wood's a
works.
good investment.
And Mark,
I'm not-
Mark Wood will generate revenue because it sold out at Dickens High School.
Okay, but my point is we're trying to do a ton, and obviously you're working your tail off generating all these ideas, and I don't have a problem with, we need to celebrate our 150th year, you know, but a $250,000 that we ain't got, you know, I'm like, I have a hard time saying, you know, here's taxpayers out here, and we're trying to figure out fire fees and doing this to hit them with raising this to take care of that and looking at our responsibilities. And I'm thinking, you know, we're going to put together $250,000 for a one-day party. And then we got, you know, a Veterans Day party, and then we got a Christmas party, and guys, I'm like, whoa, no.
I think some of the things can be covered by volunteer contributions. And like I say, you know, I've got the generator and tent. I'll be happy to provide those.
Corporate sponsorship's great.
We have to figure that out.
The county may have some tents, for instance, that could be used.
You also have to worry about liability when you start bringing in stuff like that.
But
Yeah.
I think you're right. I'm not going to disagree with you one bit. I will tell you this, and I'll go out on a limb and tell you that I have no problem whatsoever with the Veterans Show. I think I'll be able to sell that all day long. It's going to be a unique time for this county to celebrate its veterans, which we've never done before. Veterans Affairs is planning a huge parade. It may not be a Macy's Day parade, but it will be enough to honor our vets. Red carpet arrivals will come into the pack, and we'll put on a show that'll raise the hair on the back of your necks. We've invited through Boise State Tim Scott, who probably will be there. We're going to invite Jeff Duncan. I want all of you front and center. We'll have the legislative delegation there, and it will be a patriotic moment that will celebrate our veterans. And it's going to be done cheap. I have no doubt that $12,000 figure will probably be reduced to $8,000, and I'll find that money from somewhere to make that happen from corporate sponsorships. Mark Woods will pay for itself. I agree, it's a good investment. That doesn't worry me at all. The Christmas festival is new. We want to make it something big, but I don't want to do it as big as what I'm presenting here. These were ideas that people came up with. I think you're right, Gerald. We need to back up. We need to start from ground zero, and we need to see if it's going to be successful and let it grow into something over the course of time. I will also tell you that the board, under Betty's leadership, has changed. Just as an example, the fiddle championships that are coming up in September. For the first time, Haygood Mill has decided to take a one-day event and make it a 2.5 to 3 day event. Friday night, using the Heritage Center for a square dance because it's brand new. It's a good way to use the new facility. Saturday, having fiddle competitions all day long into the night. Sunday, waking up to biscuits and gravy. I'm not sure if you said worship service, but instead of charging a parking fee, that board is saying, what if we let them park for free and we charge per person to come in? And so they're going to start to generate income through creative thinking that way. This will be a first-time event that is going to set the example and the bar for how we do it in the future. And I think trying to do this Christmas festival this big right now is just a little bit more than we can chew. I'd back way up. I'm showing you everything. I'm not recommending all of this. I'm giving you what we've been doing all summer long to try to your point, 4 celebrations as opposed to 1. And it's overwhelming. It's a lot. So I don't want to bite off more than we can chew. I want to do what we need to do it right, and let the people have a good time doing it.
I think for the record, I just want to say, I think that we have to do something to recognize and celebrate the 150th anniversary. I hear about the guys talking about growing the beards, and you think about the like the one-day county fair that you explained. I get that. I think to Councilman Whitehurst's point, writing a check for $250,000 to do that, that's probably not going to happen.
I agree.
In reality, I think that's where corporate sponsorships and creative ideas and thinking comes to play. And you got to have something for everybody. And I see that on your list of things. Literally, there's something for everybody. but you can't do it, Councilman Whitehurst's point, at the taxpayer expense. I think we have to do something to celebrate our 150th. The VA thing, I totally agree with you. I'm behind it 100%. I think that's a no-brainer. And $8,000 is the best number I see in front of me. So you understand where I'm at there. And I agree with with Administrator on the Christmas festival. I think it's got potential to grow. It may need a little help getting started, but it should, to your point, creative thinking ideas, new ideas with funding sources, et cetera, I think that in a year or two it would run on its own with minimal effort or help from us. And I think that should be the goal, and I think that is the goal from what I'm hearing. I just, for the record, wanted to say I agree with you 100%. $250,000 for a one-day festival, you can't do that.
And it could
Now, people do it every day with private funds, and that's the difference.
As a thought, can we come up with a number and say that we can agree this is how much the county is going to spend for this party? And then throw the rest on you and say, come up with, and go to the private sponsors.
Absolutely
And
right.
If we give you a certain amount and you come up with 200,000 of corporate sponsors,
Do what we want
heck,
to do.
you can put on the biggest daggone.
You want to win? I don't care. You want to
What's the chances?
Well, no, that's right. Well, that's
That's what
why.
he's asking from you guys tonight, actually, is to give him because right now he's operating on a pipe dream and no budget.
Okay, so that's what we got to come up with, is a
What's the
number that we
chances
feel
some cities
comfortable
getting
with.
this
Because I agree with you, we got to
So
go, this is important celebration.
I
This
mean,
is a
I want to
big
ask
deal.
easily this one.
We got it.
I'm saying what you're saying. Here's what I wrote down. So
I can't see that far.
I know. So on the finale, get a sponsor, and whatever you get is what you get to do.
How about like, I'm gonna throw a number out as a starting point. We say $50,000.
On the finale,
No, on
No.
everything.
on everything.
And then you go and you pick everything up
Actually,
from that
let me
point
see.
forward.
That's about where I was, I think. Let
Mark
me do-
Woods and everything, right?
Well, they're saying Mark Woods is gonna pay for itself, and I'm gonna go by what he says on that.
I feel like Mark Woods with the.
I'm good with that.
Well,
And him on that subject.
let me tell you our sources on
Now,
that.
let me go further with what you're saying. I like the veterans thing because that's important. Is it possible that we could say maybe a Christmas thing is just too big a bite this year, and look at doing that next year, and maybe we could do it a little bigger next year for the first time? Because if you come up with something kind of wimpy, it'd be like, well, that wasn't
You
any
know,
good.
the Christmas thing at Haygood, I mean, everything's already there. If you pulled in some vendors and did like where the ladies could go out there and shop. My wife loves to shop for Christmas.
Vendors ought to be paying us to go to Haven.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
some
That gives them a
recommendation
place
for
to sell their
decorations.
wares.
Yeah, come up with something that did, but
But that's not going to cost a lot.
well, how much? We said 10,000.
That's what ATEX is recommending
For everything.
for the Christmas festival.
Well, vendors shouldn't cost us anything because they're
Well,
selling
that's
their
what I'm
stuff.
thinking. Yeah, but.
Let me ask you to consider this. October the 6th is our pressing event. And I need a budget for that. And whatever you come up with, I will absolutely work around making it happen. Mark Woods, we would have been fine if Oconee County hadn't pulled out on us. But at the same time, we've always counted on making money on that event. And what do you do with that money when it's over with? And, we're going to have to answer that question down the pipeline. I feel like we'll sell 9,000 seats if there are 9,000 seats available. Right now, if you figure we've got almost 2,000 kids that are interested and they bring 2, maybe 3 adults, your seats are sold right then and
You're
there.
saying you may get help from the delegation.
Get sponsored.
Yes, I feel really good about this meeting we've got on August 22nd with Molly Spearman and Rita Allison, and that's Davey coming to help us with that. So that's kind of where I'm at, on that front.
Well, you've already said you got that paid for.
Yeah, I heard that. Don't put no pressure on it.
Jay,
Here's what I
Haven
would-
City does that where, I guess the people set it up, they're the money maker. They don't really cost them anything because they charge the money for the rides or bands or whatever how they do it. Is that a possibility?
Yes, we can do that.
We're not
I don't know how
investing-
much we'll recoup from that, but we can put a price on that. You know, I started off the conversation talking a little bit about doing this in Easley. It's because we're doing it there, it's going to cost us a little bit more money. If we'd have done it downtown Pickens, we would have had the amphitheater at our disposal. We would have had.
We can't do it downtown Pickens.
Well, we've committed to Easley. If I get a directive to move it, we can do that.
I'll tell you, part of the reason that I talked about that was to try to figure out somewhere that it's not, Pickens already has the Isaiah Festival, Liberty already has a festival, Central has a festival. All these places already have festivals, of which they've been a part of the 150-year celebration. There's been somebody there supporting it and being a part of that. Even though Pickens is the county seat, where's somewhere that we could do it either like Southern Wesleyan or Red Owens Complex based on the amount of people. I mean, if you're going to channel 10,000 people into the amphitheater at Pickens,
You ain't doing it.
it's not going to
I
happen.
bet you could do it at SWU,
I think you could do it at SWU.
and they probably wouldn't even charge us.
But they don't have. But I mean, you're still going to have the same cost in that he's talking about because of the staging and stuff. But
Well,
they-
it's not, I mean,
I'm-
is Easley charging us to use Red Oak?
No.
So why is it costing, what's the cost associated with that?
Taking out the stage, you have to. That stage is expensive to build a stage.
If we don't do the stage part, I mean, just using the land, does it cost us anything?
No. All of our costs are stuff that we're bringing in.
Well, then that's-
If you're not going to shut down a main street and use an amphitheater that won't seat the number of people, then you're going to have cost, is what he's saying.
What's guaranteed?
I mean, we can do it at the parking lot of the PAC and see as many people as we can at an amphitheater.
Red Owens is that whole complex down we're talking about? That's big enough to do a lot of things.
Right, where you can people can set up barbecue vendors and you can set up people selling stuff.
And you're not in a city.
It's not a- right.
city. You're not downtown Main Street.
Or it's not downtown Clemson, or I mean,
But like the accessibility, you talk about accessibility, that's important.
That's the key for me.
I mean, you know.
What about one of the high school football stadiums?
No, they're terrible to get in and out of. They're awful.
Okay.
Well,
Come to a graduation sometime.
I'll actually tell you this. Our plan right now is to, accessibility is huge because that's a logistical nightmare for us on this.
Especially
front.
elderly.
Right. So if you have 1,100 parking spaces at Red Owens, 200 of them are going to be used up based on where we have to have the event for vendors and
You have
barbecue.
to walk a long way to get there. to
Right.
show up there.
So we're having
Far away
to
from
come up
the
with a shuttle, park in Easley High School's parking lot, and shuttle people really down the road all the way back into almost where they're parking.
Easily high, out
Easley
there,
High School.
Anderson County.
And that's-
Years to do that.
How many miles is that?
I haven't.
What about-
It's
what
not
about-
miles. I mean, it's not a lot. It's
No, what
about-
Easley High School backs up to Red Owens.
What about the old Walmart parking lot?
We're going to talk to them and see if
Was
we
that
can use.
churches there,
We're going to see if we
Five
can
Points,
use
whatever.
local parking lots to have
Shuttle.
shuttle stations.
That could be a
Pope
killer.
Field is another area we're talking about parking.
Brush Creek.
Hadn't gotten to Brushy Creek, but that's part of the local deal. We can talk with them as well.
When I had a business, I made my.
I'm at 67. I'll show you how. Based on what he can
Off
offer.
the street.
But,
So
huh?
the easiest.
I was going to say, well, that's where I got the 67.
By the customer.
But also, it'll be
There's
back
some way
to
you
if you
can
charge
shuttle
for the rides.
vendors, empty their trucks, and then shuttle their vehicles away and shuttle them back.
I can work on that. That's probably part of what's going to have to happen anyway.
Find somebody to come in and say, we'll bring the ride, but we make every dime off of it, and we're responsible for all of it. I don't know how that works.
Oh, that, I know about that.
Yeah,
But
that's what I
vendors
mentioned to
get
Jay.
the money, but then depends what they're gonna charge. Are they gonna give us some, because you go to little, I mean, the little fairs, they charge a lot for a little.
Well, Pickens Zeta Festival does it, and I don't think they're astronomical on theirs.
There they are.
The rides,
Yeah.
Pickens Zeta
Y'all can
Festival.
give Jay an idea of a budget to work within, he can come back
Here-
and update you next week. I mean,
Here's what I was thinking. If you looked at the 13,000 for the rides, assuming that we could probably get something out of that, whatever the finale is, whether it's 10, 40, 60, or 80, get a sponsor for that. The celebrity headliner and a portion of the stage, get a sponsor for that. Then you keep the decor, the event staff needs, the marketing, and the miscellaneous take off the 20,000 for the celebrity guest judges, and get local people.
Trail judge.
Now you're at 67,000. Whatever, plus whatever you get in sponsorships.
Tell me, you came up with a $67,000 figure?
Plus whatever you get in sponsorships.
What's the total costing with what you're suggesting?
I looked at the 13,000 for the ride.
So you keep that in.
I took out the 80,000 on the finale.
How much you putting in there for that?
Sponsor, nothing.
So if we don't get a
He's
sponsor,
asking
we
you
don't
to find a
get
So we don't do
for
anything
that.
if we don't have a
Well, I
sponsor.
mean, I think if the city of Easley comes in and says, you know what, we want to sponsor the fireworks,
And that's
or we
what I'm
want to
gonna ask
sponsor a
to do
drone
that.
show, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, you guys get to do that.
All right, so I'm taking that
So if
out.
the sponsor
Can you
came
go to
out,
some of our big industry in here?
I'm going to hit
the
them all.
MCPC
Yeah.
folks, absolutely.
That's exactly where we're going.
And then when it comes to the headliner and stage, get somebody to sponsor that. Keep in the local performers, videographer, the
Well,
five, that
so let me-
15,000 and 5,500.
If we do a headliner, the rider on a headliner is, it has to be covered, and they're smart, because if it rains that day, this is a show that goes on regardless.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the stage cost us $41,000, $42,000, and that, we won't get the Oak Ridge Boys unless we have that stage, so the two go hand in hand.
Right.
You do away with the headliner, and you bring in local acts, we can downsize the stage, that part of the budget goes down. You know, I don't know that you're gonna, you're going.
Well, that's what I was saying.
He's
If you
gonna
get
throw
it,
all that into your pocket and say, entertainment, sponsor it.
come up with 83,000, or we'll just use the combined stage and we'll do local performers.
And if we can't get nothing, we use the back of Inslee's pickup truck.
Correct.
Yes, that's
83 days. In other words, that's a sponsor on the 83.
All right, let me be realistic. If we have to go find money for a headliner at this late date, that's not going to happen. Because if I don't book a headliner by the end of this week, we're going to lose them, and our choices every day are getting slimmer as to who's available. We've been monitoring this for a little while. I think we're at a point tonight where we have to say we're either going to do a headliner and pay for it and hope we get some sponsorships, or we're not going to do a headliner, keep local talent on that stage and downsize that stage. I just feel like that's where we are, because we're
Fair
less
enough.
than 2 months away.
Let's say local, and then if you score a sponsor for a headliner, go for it.
And we've got somebody we're meeting with to see if they'll sponsor
I just,
the
yeah,
headliner.
if you have a sponsor, great, but I ain't dropping
All right,
anything.
I'm good with that. At least I know where I'm going now. That's all I need. I need some direction from you guys to determine
You're
what we can
saying-
do and not do.
I was saying, so the 13, then sponsor on the 83. Keep the local performers 15 and 5,500 for the videographer.
The videographer, that's what? What is that?
So if we put up this big stage and we have all these people that have fun, we bring a video crew in to capture people having a good time and putting it up on a big screen.
Well, I mean, in other words, people will be able to see it from a distance.
And then that's the other side of it, is if it's a Oak Ridge Boys and you're in the back, these video screens will allow you to see the performances
That's what
up close and personal.
Ain't no way the school's got something?
So the videographer is the screens included
Yes.
and all that goes with that.
Well, yeah, the ACE, see the, where it says stage 42,000? That includes a stage that the headliner, size, depth, and width that the headliner requires, a roof, all your lighting, all your sound, and 2 big LED screens on either side of the stage.
I got a thought. You got $2,000 in there for T-shirts.
Yes.
What if we had sponsors that bought advertisement on those T-shirts?
Right.
And that's very doable, yes.
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking a little lower than you. I'm thinking give them 50 grand, make them work harder to fill out those T-shirts.
I mean, I think some of your costs you're going to have, like
We're going to have some costs there, but even those costs, because that what someone puts on the back of a T-shirt or on a golf cart. If we get a golf cart company to donate using golf carts, they'll have their name on the side. Those will go in. You got to be creative. If we're throwing,
No pressure.
and saying, hey, how can we do stuff to get people, the advertisements out in the field, putting signs up.
We're going to work on, but keep in mind, we're 6 weeks, 7 weeks out. and contracts need to be signed. I'm not willing to,
I'm kind of thinking that was, anyway.
I mean, local talent, yes. Headliner, no. If we don't have, I mean,
Local talent.
huh?
I'd say local.
But what he's saying is you still got to pay for a stage. You're still going to have to pay for something for a stage. And if you're going to do the where people can see, I mean, if you're expecting that many people there, whether it's local
That'd be a good
talent,
idea, really.
whether it's local talent or whatever, I mean, you're still going to have screens where people
Why
can
don't we
see.
decide this? Why don't we say, don't spend your time, because what'll happen is you'll spend your time trying to find that act and that person to do that. If we just say, you know what, we're just going to do local talent, that takes the pressure off of you for going to look for that particular one big item, and then you can focus on all these other things that can create income.
I agree with that.
In smaller amounts, it would cover more cost in other areas. And then we don't have to deal with the struggling, are we going to get an actor of 80,000 or stage or this or that? and the
That's a
other.
lot of money. So even if, I mean.
And we just make that decision
sponsorship,
now and say, okay, then we don't have to try to stress over it.
It's not been easy thus far. I want you to know that. It's been talking to different people to try to pull this thing off in a short amount of time. It hasn't, but I'm glad you're giving me this direction because now I know where we stand. I know what we got to do. Pipe dream, going back to our administrator.
TikTok.
TikTok.
That would be really helpful. Anyway.
TikTok.
So, TikTok. See, I'm with you guys 100% on everything. I think we should allocate a little bit more because he's going to need the stage and to pay that, not the 40-something thousand. That's why I was saying 67.
How about we do 60?
We're gonna negotiate.
Hell yeah.
I'm going
65.
62.5.
$62,537.
38 cents.
It's 30.
You may do
Where's the money
better.
coming from?
There's my
You
question.
better do better.
Like
You
digging
better
yourself.
We're gonna dig it
better
up.
on sponsorship.
That's the only place we can go.
Do you think?
I agree.
And so if you do, then that should bring our costs down some.
Here's what.
I didn't want to say.
I was listening.
I was ignoring you.
Your check will reflect it. I said, you could
So
probably get
can I ask you?
62,000 would be the heck out of here.
Can I ask you for this?
62 would be the heck.
This is 62,000 for the October 6th event, or okay?
For the October 6th event.
If I could give me this, with respect, you give me $62,000, and let me decide the best way to spend that money with
Yeah.
sponsorship money as well. It may not be $13,000.
We don't need to get into the weeds on it, but
Yeah. All right. If that's
What are you going to do with that? You don't have rides there? You don't have entertainment?
I'm going to have a little bit of everything. I'm not going to back off of the main plan, but I might cut back on it. And to your point, now that I can go to industry and say, here's what the county's kicking in and here's what I need for this particular act, it may work. I'm not going to throw the big stage, and I'm not going to throw the Oak Ridge Boys out just yet. I've got a week to make something happen there.
do whatever you. I mean, whatever you come up with will be fine. I think we need to celebrate.
I got to do something.
I'm with you on that.
But I'm with you.
Are y'all?
I would never have birthday parties myself. So,
Are y'all good with the? Y'all good with the 62,000 for this event?
Yes.
Do you want to go ahead and tell him, we're skipping over the Christmas market right now, Mark Woods and Veterans Day, we're good with that too?
Mark Woods, Jay said it would pay for itself.
All the costs are covered.
Well, but in fairness to this side of the table,
Well, he's got to spend it up front.
Oconee County backed out. If they hadn't backed out, we would have been there. And I will tell you this.
So on Facebook.
You've got to also realize you're investing in our children when you do this. And that's huge. If we had 1,000 people, I wouldn't have to bring Mark Wood in here but maybe 3 days. But with 2,000, you got to bring him here a week, maybe 10 days. And those costs go up, and that's what's happened to us. So it's a good situation to be in because our kids are going to take advantage of this, and at the end of the day, we're going to be heroes. The schools are on board. If we tried to cram all this in before April, we wouldn't have made it. We're spending a year. I haven't talked to them about that yet, but probably, no. When I say they're on board with us, I mean, we're in the classrooms, we've been into 9 different
Oh,
schools
I
in April.
understand that part.
All that part of it's good.
The financial part is
Yeah.
what I'm asking about.
We're going to go after the money after this is over with, now that I know where we're heading.
We need to I do, I'm saying we need to vote.
You know,
We should have been on top of it as soon as we lost the county.
Full council.
Well,
Okay.
that's very good.
So I need a motion on the 62,000 to send to full council for a vote.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Feemster, second by,
I'll do it. Second.
all those in favor, signify by raising your hands.
Discussion.
He gave 20%. All right, that carried. I need a
A motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Second. You got all these people down?
I'm
working.
Oh, you
were supposed
I got
to say something.
What was I supposed to say?
Don't worry about it.
No, wait, I forgot what you
Motion second. We
No, we
voted.
haven't voted yet. What?
Oh, jeez.
All those in favor, signify by raising your hands, and we are adjourned. Thank you, guys.